Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of Midweek Matters. I'm your host, James Graham, joined by Charlie White. It's been a big day, hasn't it, Charlie?
Big day. Great to have West Tigers CEO Shane Richardson on. So we've kind of changed up the release schedule a little bit then this week. So your normal Thursday drop, well, it's you and Richo. It's gone out on Wednesday.
Had to get the one out nice and early. We also did a great shoot with Craig Gower and Billy Moore, talking all things Beer Footy Food Festival.
Oh, I can't wait for the Beer Footy Food Festival. It's literally one of the best things. If you're a rugby league fan, it doesn't get better. No. It really doesn't.
I'm going to behave myself, and I'm sorry. This time when I go, I'm not going to take any bait. So if there's any wrestlers out there, it's a one and done. I'm trying to think of things that they could have at the Beer Footy Food Festival that I could get baited into.
Yeah, and also, mate, the wrestling was good. You did a great job, but I just then pictured the shot of you having your hand held as you climbed to the top turnbuckle, and it took me back to that great moment. Which you are an ex-NRL player, you're obviously very athletic, probably more athletic than me. But climbing up to that turnbuckle, you did not look like you had an athletic bone in your body.
It might have to do with my ceramic hip.
Yeah, we've all got excuses though. Natural genetics can be an excuse.
Yeah, genetics are normally the overwhelming aspect of a person's ability or inability to accomplish something. But in this particular case, mate, you know
what would you do in future? Do you reckon you'd have like a little step ladder to get you up there, and that could be part of your finishing move? You climb up the step ladder.
In the future, I'm not going to do it. But the thing is, though, Charlie, at the end of my career, it was actually a bit of a process to get a sock on, and get my shoes on and get my tie my laces, like to leave the house. It was at like a certain angle on the stairs. But I mean, getting up to the top rope, look, it just is what it is, mate. It's just one of those things.
It was like my grandma climbing onto a ladder, basically, is what it looked like.
When have you ever witnessed your grandma climb onto the ladder?
She's a lady of many talents. And yeah, I've seen her climb the ladder before.
And you know what?
Clean out the
speaks volumes about you, because you know, if I saw my grandma getting up a ladder, I'd say, don't worry, love, I'll take care of this for you. But Shithouse Charlie would be sat back there, probably hungover, drinking a coffee, on his phone, on Instagram. Oh, no, grandma can do it.
Well, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're very wrong. Because also, mate, she's a very capable woman, you know. And
you've just been ridiculing her for her inability to go.
No, I said you moved like her. Her moving like a 35-year-old, 40-year-old man is incredible. It shows her talent and her dexterity. You, on the other hand, it shows that you're slow lumbering. Okay? To be compared with my grandmother. But anyway, the reason of this show is because you've gotten all the Galvin stuff out with Shane Richardson. An amazing chat. If you missed it, go back and listen to it. Pause this now. Go back and listen to that, because that's much more worthwhile. This today, we're going to just preview the round. It's a Galvin free zone.
Well, he might come up in the
Tigers chat.
In the Tigers chat.
Yeah. Okay.
But other than that, we're not going to go into that.
We're not going to go anywhere near apart from that.
No.
Unless some news breaks while we're recording.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. Then, of course, we'll hit it hard.
I've got to raise one other thing that annoyed me with you coming in. I've seen where you parked. You've just parked in the middle of the car park. You haven't actually parked in the car park spot. I might try and show our listeners without showing your number plate. You just parked in the middle of the... Okay, brilliant. I'm going to send it to Tony.
So, sorry. What was your issue again with where I parked?
You've just parked in the middle of the car, like in the middle of a driveway.
No, I hadn't. I parked.
You parked in where the cars move around. It's made it very tough for any cars moving around the car park.
You said it was like me being. What was the phrase you used when we got in the lift? I can't remember. Like ignorant or
probably narcissistic, selfish.
But the thing is, it's not selfish, because what's selfish is parking in somebody else's empty spot. We're here in a shared community, so I've not taken up someone's spot because it's free. I've gone like against a wall.
We've got our own spots, so you just parked so you could be nearer the lift. How many spots do we have? We've got 2 spots.
Okay, and how many people are here?
So I already hadn't parked in the spot, so there's 2 spots. So one for you, one for Tony.
No, and who else is coming today with a vehicle.
Shane Richardson, but we can use the loading dock spots for him. We're allowed to use those ones.
But why didn't you tell me? And I
No, well, man, I did tell you that. You're just now trying to make it up so you don't seem like a selfish parker. You've just done
it's
that.
not a selfish park. I could have parked on our spot. I could have parked in our spot, but I didn't because I'm not selfish.
Everybody watching will have a look at this picture of the car park spot and see what you've done and say you're selfish. You've done it to park near the lifts. That's why you've done it. To save yourself a little
3-second walk.
Nah, you should be booked for that. You should be booked and fined.
You go and see the building manager.
We've got a leak in our window here. He has not replied to me about that, so he's already on my bad books, Vince.
Maybe it's me parking there. He thinks these bar around people.
Good. We should actually park wherever we want now to get back at Vince for not getting back to us about the league.
Yeah, let's do it.
But anyway, we're going to preview the round. First game, huge game, one of the biggest games so far this season. Bronx against your doggies, Jimmy.
I'm nervous about this one. Like I really am. I think all the expectations with the Bulldogs, and I think, look, although the Broncos, short turnaround from New Zealand, they were poor against them, but I'm anticipating a response. And look, I don't imagine the Dogs to underestimate this team, but it's a different looking team with Cobbo at fullback. And I think the closer we get to Origin, I think Brisbane know they've got to bank some results. Like they really do. They're gonna have strong Origin representation, and I'm certainly expecting a much better Broncos performance than what we've seen in recent weeks.
Yeah. So Reece Walsh obviously out 4 to 6 weeks with that PCL injury. That's a big loss for them. But we've got Ezra Mam coming back in, I think, 2 weeks' time. And that's going to be the really interesting thing with the Broncos as well. What do they do with that spine? Everyone assumes it's going to be Ben Hunt goes to hooker and Mam goes into 5'8". Would you be happy with that setup?
I think that's the logical choice. That's how you fit everybody in. In fact, it's the only way you fit everybody in terms of the three star playmakers.
Yeah.
Ben Hunt, he's played in that dummy half position for Queensland and Australia. He, from memory, was pretty adamant he didn't want to play at club football for the Dragons. Remember when they were going through that tough period and it seemed as though Ben was the best option, or it would have suited the Dragons for him to play 9, but he shied away from that, was adamant he wanted to play 7. I guess this situation is different. He'd rather be part of a premiership winning team in any position. But he had a really off night last time out against the Warriors. He'll be determined to put it back together against the Dogs. The other thing about Reece Walsh, and I don't know if I've said this before, a lot of his form comes under so much scrutiny. I really don't think enough people take into account the fact that he was knocked out cold last year on numerous occasions, and what that does to an individual's psyche. And look, he set that try up on the weekend where he nailed that 3-on-2. But it's only Capewell coming at him from that centre position. And look, all credit to Capewell. He's not that aggressive, fly out the line, speedy centre that can whack you. And even if you watch Reece Walsh, and I know he did have that knee injury, but when he passes it, he fades away and falls. And I was just watching it thinking, I can't help but feel he's trying to protect himself, which is only natural.
Because it wasn't just the Suaalii he hit. He broke his eye socket as well when he had that clash with May.
But mate, that Suaalii he hit, he was out for a long time.
Yeah.
And that takes so... I know what it's like to be knocked out, not in that fashion, but in different fashions, and start to reconsider where I am on a football field and the situations I put myself in, where I stand off a kickoff, when I'm receiving a kickoff, where I stand when we're kicking off. And this was at an aging front rower when I'm starting to reconsider this. And I just there's a worry there that Reece hasn't, and I don't even know if it's conscious, because I know you'd be thinking I'm just going to attack this situation, but if you get hit like he did from Suaalii, you like your body just puts like restricts you from being there.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting how they change and how their style of attack changes without Walsh there as well.
Yeah.
Because Cobbo's a very different style of player.
Yeah.
You know, and I actually think, Jimmy, we obviously know about the salary cap squeeze now at the Broncos and the fact that Adam Reynolds is probably going to get pushed out unless he takes a very, very low-level deal.
I don't even think there's any amount of money available at
which is such a shame
because the NRL would have an amount he has to be paid, which I don't think the Broncos have.
Yeah, I don't think they'd have a huge amount though on him, given his age. Given his age and his injury history, I reckon you'd be able to get probably around that 500 mark. You could probably get over the line.
I don't think they've got 500.
Well, they don't. They don't. That's the reality, and he's going to get pushed out because of that. And I think when you see what Ben Hunt's done, God, I think the Broncos crew will be sitting themselves saying, "Geez, look how much more influential Adam Reynolds is than Ben Hunt. We have made a mistake here."
Yeah, maybe. I guess time will tell.
Like a bit of a panic buy getting Ben Hunt, and I think from the Broncos,
and maybe with Reynolds. Like he's not suffered from injury as much as he did last year.
He had the hammy. He wasn't moving amazingly well in that game against the Warriors, I didn't think.
No.
But he's so influential. And what he can do, he's just so important to that team.
Yeah, he is. And I think there's a huge difference in that team when he's not there. I think the decision to bring Ben Hunt into the team, that decision will be into the football club, will be under the microscope in the coming months.
We've probably spent enough time on this game because, you know, it's by the time you're listening, this game's probably already been played. Yeah. But Jimmy, who have you got, Broncos or Doggies?
I've got the Bulldogs.
Got the Bulldogs. Okay. I'm surprised. Not.
They're 6 in a row.
And you think they go 7 in a row?
I think they will.
Do the Dogs lose a game this year?
Of course. Absolutely.
I thought you were going to be like, no, they don't. Because if you tip them every week, why would you think they'd lose a game?
That's a silly argument. Yes, they will lose a game this year.
Okay. All right. Next game then, Jimmy.
ANZAC Day clashes.
Yeah. Obviously, this game means a lot to you. I know the ANZACs mean a lot to you as well. I know you care a lot about the service women and men around the world. Big day on the calendar.
Yeah, it's huge. Look, we've just had Good Friday, which was a big day for the football clubs that I was playing for. So at St. Helens, Good Friday tradition against Wigan was a huge day, daytime kickoff. You start the Easter festivities, and then coming over here to the Bulldogs, start this rivalry between selves. It was built off geographical rivalry.
Yeah,
and two of the better teams in both competitions going up against each other. So St. Helens and Wigan, always two of the top end teams, geographically close to one another. Built that rivalry. South v Bulldogs, again, both teams going well at the time, geographically close together.
Dan Ganane said on Triple M, you actually have helped build that rivalry massively as well, with everything that happened.
Yeah, I mean, probably looking back.
Because moments like that is what makes a rivalry, the drama that happens on the field. It just makes it so much deeper.
Well, we had some big run-ins in 12 and 13 and 14. Like, there were some massive games.
Yeah, and the Burgess-Graham, that was so strong at the time.
Like, I don't know, because I wasn't part of it in terms of, like, I was, but not looking and consuming all the content that was. But, like, I was actually sat on the panel at Fox, and they did this montage. I was actually watching the game from 15. I actually get quite emotional, and I was actually like what I'd give to be back out there. And there's elements of like you going over in your mind like, fuck, that was me. Like it doesn't look like it's you, and I could almost feel myself like getting that lump in my throat. And then they showed the footage of the touchy slipping. I was like, oh God, no. Like, oh God, yeah, I can't cry at that. You know, like it was just, I don't know. It was just kind of, I'm glad they did, because I was like, oh, you know, I think every retired athlete, when they get shown clips of themselves or the teams that they were involved in, they naturally feel that way. But so sorry, the rivalry on Good Friday, that's about clubs, but this, not even rivalry, this game, this day, we know how much it means to both countries. And one thing I love about Australia, you go to an RSL and at 6 o'clock they stop and they play the last post. I think the respect and the nod to the people that literally were willing to lay down their lives for our freedoms that we take for granted each and every day. And there are other areas of the globe that would give anything to have the freedoms and peace that we have here. And it's a huge knock to that. I had grandfathers, both my grandfathers that served in World War II, like just knowing what, like, look, I never met one grandfather. The other one didn't really speak about it, but I dread to think what they did. Obviously, in England, we have Remembrance Day, but I love the fact that Aussies on ANZAC Day get up and just give that nod to the people that served and died, and even some of the experience I've had through football. Wayne Bennett, when he was England coach in 2018, first day of camp, we flew over there and we went to Belgium and France, and we went to a place called Meningate. And went to a lot of other areas around there with a guy called Damien, who is I think he's finished in the RAF now, but that was his area that he was stationed in, and the RAF. His service was with the RAF,
Royal Air Force.
Yeah,
my
Royal
granddad
Air
was
Force.
in the Royal Air Force as well.
And we go to this huge grave site, and literally you're overcome. You are like rocked. You're sat like it's silent, and he's talking about the sheer number of not even casualties, but fatalities that day. During this time, and we're blown away, and we're like, wow. And this is all happened in World War I. And he goes, of that, I think from memory, it was 27 semi-professional rugby league players that didn't come home from that war. And we're there as a squad of 24 for England, and going, that's like us. Like, these guys were playing sport just like we did. Granted, it was different then, but they got, like, I don't know whether it was choice, whether it was conscription. These guys went and fought for their country, maybe not even knowing what they were going into in World War I, and they didn't come back. And I remember being there, and Damien's hit us with this fact and just being like, can you imagine what it would be like just sitting in the changing room, getting back together and going to that first training session back and just being like, he's not come back. Like, it's actually insane. I think here in Australia, for us to have this game, to play the last post, and when you're a part of that, you walk out, and I always use this cheesy line, but it's not cheesy. It speaks to the soul in a language that you do not understand. And when you're out there and you've got these ex-service men and women, and you look them in the eye and you think, like, you just have this annual appreciation for what we have. And I couldn't be prouder of the sport, the players, the NRL for giving that nod and putting this game on this day, and obviously the Roosters and Dragons, headline that.
And they do the last post at all the games as well across the weekend. But I think you're right about Australians. We probably take for granted how well we do this stuff and how we have this public holiday to remember all these people and think about the people that have been lost. And it's so important, like from the dawn services that they have all across, Australia, and then even a bit of fun involved as well for two up, because to lighten the day up. And it's great. Like, I was in the Rocks last year, had a beer with a few guys who were serving that were in Australia at the time, and they were loving it, having a great time. And it's such an important day, because I've been to somewhere like Auschwitz, World War II, where you see the devastation. There's just rooms of people's shoes filled from head to toe of people who are lost. Like, there's the gravity of what happened and where we are now as a world. It's incredible that we're in this point, but we've got to remember the past and think about all that stuff.
Absolutely honor the past for what these people did. It's so important. We use the vehicle of sport to do that. You know what, Charlie? The thing, like, some people go, oh, you shouldn't use it as a reason to go and get drunk or play two up. But it's like they were fighting for those freedoms to do that. So we didn't have some dictator telling us what we can and can't do.
Exactly.
Like,
and there's obviously parts of the world that are still going through war at the moment,
yeah.
like Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, everything going on there, Palestine. But so in Australia, we're in a very fortunate position. And Jimmy, like one part that I like in funerals, they are obviously really intense emotional events, but getting together with your loved ones and having a beer and remembering those people in a fun way is important to do. And I think two up's a big part of the day, as it should be as well.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And
the game though, Jimmy, you've played in this game. Have you captained the Dragons in this contest before?
No, didn't captain the Dragons. Got to experience 2 Anzac Day games. We won one, we lost one at the SCG. It's incredibly memorable, and the work that both clubs do in terms of the sites that they visit, the guest speakers that they bring in. Like again, this has stayed with me for such a long time to remember those people that come in and talk to what it means and talk of stories of the past. But again, the vehicle of sport is a great way to give our nod and tilt our cap to those people that were willing to lay down their life, pay the ultimate price.
Absolutely. And in this game, there has been some changes, though. Roosters have dropped Dom Young, which is big. It's a big decision. There was obviously talk of it happening a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
And then Mark Nwanganituase's calf wasn't quite right. But now Billy Smith, he was suspended last week, so it's kind of delayed the inevitable for Dom Young, but he's officially now been dropped.
Yeah, look, I'm kind of difficult one to figure out. I think the writing's been on the wall for Dom Young for some time. I think his form's dropped this year. And a big part of this is the impact of Rob Toyer's introduction to first grade, who's been outstanding, and then the form of rugby convert Mark Nwanganituase. He's been sensational. He's got some, you could maybe like look at some defensive lapses of his game, but he's not going to have the same situations thrown at him from the wing. So I think that helps him, and the level of skill, athleticism, he's got to be picked, and Dom Young is the 4 guy. But if Dom Young picks his form up, he's one of the best wingers in the competition when he's playing at his best. But he's just been forced out through his dip in form and others rising to the challenge of week to week NRL.
Nat Butch is also out with the knee injury. But where do you think the Dragons are at? They're sitting in the 8 now. They're starting to find that combination. Things are starting good. I'll tell you what, Carl Flanagan and Lockie Ilias, it was great. Carl Flanagan post game last week said, "Are we the worst half? Are we still the worst halves combo in the league?" Well, probably not. The Dragons are starting to find something.
Well, all that matters for them is getting results. So people can comment about where they rank in terms of the half combination, but all that matters for them is results. Are they the most glamorous halves combination? Like, probably not. And that's hard to argue against. But what the Dragons have shown a lot of grit, and they're staying in the fight. Like, they were by far and away the better team against Manly. Manly were dreadful last week, but the Dragons were the better team, and I think the scoreline arguably flattered the Manly side. Like, the Dragons should have run away with it a little bit more.
And maybe that's concerning.
Maybe that is the issue. The game against South Sydney that they should have locked up. I think if you're Shane Flanagan,
plus Eels as well,
you're probably looking at it and going, we should have 2 extra wins in the win column.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we're doing okay, but we should be better off. So it's but I think in terms of where the Dragons are at with their halves, I think you've got to give credit to Flanagan again. Like, he's
Kyle or Shane?
Shane. Yeah. Shane. He's driving that group. It's amazing what an impact he's had. I loved his comments last year when he was like, "We're not winning the spoon." And look, his team on paper this year isn't bursting with stars, but he's got them in, and they'll be there or thereabouts again. This game, however, I've just got the Roosters slightly ahead.
Do you?
I think the Roosters will get it. I just think they'll get the win today. I think this is the occasion. I think Robinson taps into this occasion. And I think they've got the slightly better forward pack as well.
I'm going to go the Dragons. I think the Dragons get the win. Next game on Anzac Day then. And I love what the NRL is doing now as well, having New Zealand always play on Anzac Day.
Brilliant. Look, it was great to watch them go to Melbourne, but for them to give the Warriors this home game is sensational.
And they're taking on the Knights, Jimmy. They're huge favourites, the Warriors. Sitting inside the top four. So. It's another thing we probably got wrong as a show this year.
As a show, I think it's the Warriors of Las Vegas seem like it was aliens turned up and put on Warriors jerseys that day. They are such a different side to the Warriors that we witnessed in round one.
And mate, the stuff we were hearing over in Las Vegas as well.
Yeah.
Like seemed like there was unrest within the group. And you know what? I mean, Vegas is a funny place. And it maybe didn't suit the Warriors as a team because there's not much to do there. The players probably got bored and got over each other and wanted to go home.
Well, it seemed like a sinking ship, Charlie.
It did.
It really did seem like a sinking ship. And then when they lose Fisher Harris, for them to put in that performance, Luke Metcalf, again, what he produced in Las Vegas versus what he's producing now. I know he had a bit of an off night with the boot, but he's been great for them. Great to see him back fully fit. The Knights as well. They should hopefully take inspiration from the Warriors in that it can be turned around because we've seen them do it before, but there's no clues there. There's no. Sometimes when you watch a team and you think, oh, they're close, like going back to the Dolphins, their start of the season, there was elements of their play. I was like, oh, they need to, get the shackles off, and maybe you look at the cyclone that hit and think, oh, maybe they're not that far away. But for the Knights, they just look so far away, from competing in the game.
And their attack is putrid. Like it's putrid. They don't look like scoring. They genuinely don't look like scoring.
That's it. And that's the point. There's no signs to say they're gonna come good. There's no evidence. There's no closeness. They just look so far off the pace.
Yeah.
Like they're really finding it difficult to get to generate opportunities, and they've got arguably the best attacking player in the competition.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. And big in for them, Dylan Lucas coming in. But I wonder, obviously I know that Jackson Hastings has had his falling out with the players at the Knights, and they clearly don't want him in the team, the guys. But God, it's going so bad. When does he get a chance?
Charlie, you make a really great point. It might be time to reconsider. Because he's on, 800
He's on 800 grand a year, so he's meant to be a starting half.
He's being paid to be the starting half.
And we've seen enough from Jackson Hastings over the year. When he's given an opportunity, he does deliver, often in these moments as well, where he's been put a line through and then he ends up getting back in the team and then he can produce something. He's playing for his future as well. I think this is his last year of his deal. We all expect him to go to England, but surely they can give him a crack at some point.
I think that's what you've got to you consider, because this night season is on life support.
Yeah.
Like it genuinely is on life support. Like, Origin, they'll lose Ponga, and then we've seen in yesterday they go on the run. Maybe instead of Ponga coming back, it's Hastings coming into the side.
Yeah. And if he doesn't come into the side, it makes you wonder just how toxic things are with Hastings in the playing group.
Yeah.
Like just how bad it is.
Yeah.
Like what's happened? Then you need to start asking questions of like what's going on. The fact that you're not picking this guy, you refuse to pick this guy, and it's due to internal dramas. We know that. We know that they don't like him, the players.
Yeah.
So it's strange. He can burn some bridges, Hastings, through his NRL journey. But I'm guessing you like the Warriors in this one?
Yeah. And in the top four, absolutely flying. Can't see past the Warriors win.
Yeah. And I mean, there's been a bit of talk this week about O'Brien's future as well. He's in the issue for Knights fans, because I think it is an issue. I think in a dream world, they probably don't have O'Brien as their coach anymore. I think that's what the fans want. But he's in the first year of a 3-year deal, Jimmy.
And also a re-signed 3-year deal. So like the decision makers at the Knights are almost, if they sack him, it's like, well, one, they've got, I'm assuming they'd have to pay him out for 2 years. Probably. But also it's an admission of, we got this one wrong.
It's also like, why did you include that stupid clause in to give them the third year if they finished
top
above
12?
Yeah. Just stupid.
We've had some poor clauses in deals. I don't think there's been a more stupid, idiotic one than giving a coach a top 12. Like, what does that say to your ambitions as a football club?
Yeah. It's so bizarre. It just seems like they're wasting such an important period for the Knights. Well, like, because this is an era, the Kalen Ponga era at Newcastle, guys like him don't come around very often to your club. And the fact they're not maximising it is disappointing.
The only thing, well, one of the big things in favour of the Knights is they've got Dylan Brown coming to the club, who looked a different player with Mitchell Moses, and they've made finals 4 from 5 years, which I think personally, I keep saying
they've not done anything, and it's been they've won like one or two finals games over that period.
But still, I think it gives someone a little bit of runway. But for them to get to the next level, But
those years where they made the finals, there was like 2 or 3 good teams miles ahead, and then the other teams in the 8 were kind of average anyway.
I know what you're saying, Charlie, but that gives them an out and buys them runway. But we're talking about O'Brien. It buys him runway.
Yeah,
but buys him time.
But you've got the Warriors.
Yes,
in a canter.
Yes, I do.
All right, then the third and final day game on Anzac Day, Friday night, Storm against the Bunnies. Obviously, Harry Grant's still out, but the big one of this one, Jai Gray, he's right up there in the Dally M voting, but he's going to be coming off the bench this weekend, Jimmy.
Yeah, I think this has been coming. Obviously, Souths nilled in their last encounter. Nothing against Gray, but I think they've just got to get this. They've got to get their best team on paper. And look, Jai Gray's been fantastic, but Latrell Mitchell is a potential. Latrell Mitchell is a much better fullback. Let's be honest, he is. And Jai Gray did a fantastic job. And there's no room for sentiment in the NRL. It's a ruthless game. We've seen that with Lewis Dodd, where he was signed as a number 7 to come over, paid quite well, similar to Hastings. Like, I don't think he's on as much as Hastings, but he's paid quite well to come over here. Almost, I'd love to know what went on in those negotiations, because I'm trying to think as a number 7 in England coming out here, you can't be guaranteeing your first grade spot. You can't be saying, I'm coming as the number 7. Or maybe Souths approached him and said, you're going to play 7. But then not long after he signed, they went and picked up Jaden Sullivan, which, if I'm Lewis Dodd back in England, I'm thinking, what are you guys doing here? Like, why are you signing another number 7? Like, alarms would be ringing. Humphrey's another one. Like, why are you signing these 2 people? Like, is this to raise the competition? Am I the 7 or not? It'd be interesting to know how much of it was Wayne Bennett and how much of it was Blake Solly. Like, was Wayne involved in the discussion?
That's why I wanted to call Jason Demetrio before we came on and asked about this, because I think Dodd was signed while Jason Demetrio was still there, wasn't he?
So I think he was talking to South at the time.
So you think Wayne Bennett sort of got the tip off that he was getting the job and maybe got the deal over the line?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think this signing probably, given there was a lot of question marks over the coach, has to fall on the football manager and the CEO, Blake Solly.
And it's okay to get things wrong. Like, it happens.
It can't really happen if you're South Sydney, though, and your salary cap is already so tight. Because they're already very restricted. So they can't afford to make mistakes like this.
Well, you can't afford to have a 600-grand player playing in reserves.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, which they're doing at the moment.
But amazing that he's been picked over. That hasn't been picked over Sullivan as well. And they gave him 15 minutes against the Dogs when the game was over.
Yeah, you can't judge him on that. And then Humphreys, like, he's probably ahead of Sullivan based off what we've seen so far this year.
Oh yeah, Humphreys is a starting halfback there. Yeah.
But this game, Harry Grant's missing. I'm worried for South, not because of their team, but the reaction from Melbourne. They were humbled at Suncorp Stadium by the Dolphins, absolutely humbled. And I'm anticipating a huge response, like a huge response.
Yeah. Just on that, Tony's just sent it through. Dodd got signed on May 5. Demetrio sacked April 30.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can remember we had...
But so a deal wouldn't have got done in 5 days.
No.
Especially for an English player coming to Australia.
Well, this is... I remember speaking with Blake Solly on 360 and wondering who made the decision to sign Dodd, because one of the questions you would have asked if you're coming over from England is, who's my coach? It's only a natural question to ask. And what answer he was given. I guess maybe or maybe not this will come out.
Remains to be seen.
I don't know. Glass coffins
coffins.
You're stealing my joke, eh? But yeah, sorry. This is the worst time to play Melbourne. I remember thinking to myself after watching that performance against the Dolphins and watching them disintegrate, I was like, geez, I wouldn't want to play Melbourne next week. Looked it up, it's like South. It's like, oh God. They've got a terrible record down there.
Never won there.
And this, if Melbourne's response, Bellamy, would have been livid. He's called them out about their defence. Munster was talking about, we're not winning with our defence. They are going to be insanely fired up. And this time, if they get to a lead, they're not going to put the cue on the rack. We've seen them do that a number of times this year. The Warriors, the game against Para, a couple of other examples where Melbourne got out to a lead. And I think they did it when they got to 16-2. They just put the cue on the rack. That's gone. If they get a lead against Celtic, it could get messy. And I'm backing the Storm to get that big win. All
right, then going now to Saturday. The first game on Saturday is, of course, the Cowboys against the Titans. And Jimmy, the little bit of news that came out this week as well, the Titans considering a roster clean out.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, Charlie? The Titans, that team that just have been smashed with injuries, the players in key positions. I'd love to see them with a fully fit Kieran Foran and a fully fit Keanu Keeney. But that's life in the NRL. You don't always get what you hope for. It's been but that performance against Canberra, it's just the Titans. It doesn't seem to matter who's at the helm. They've got these fade outs in them where they get to a lead and they're just susceptible to the comeback. That was evident again against Canberra, a game that I thought, they started so well. But I just can't see how they get the victory against the Cowboys, who are they coming off the bye as
coming
well.
Off the bye, yeah. And Dave Fafita's back for the Cowboys, for the Titans, sorry. So that's a big in for them. But he's on the bench again, Jimmy, as well.
He is, Charlie. He's a huge in. But is he going to fix up their issues?
Probably not.
It's not like a Tino coming back. If you get Tino back, you think...
I'll tell you, he's named on the bench again. Like, Des has starting Chris Randall in the back row. Surely Dave Fafita is a more devastating, influential player than Chris Randall in the back row. And he might switch it last minute, but they've been having Fafita come off the bench. Surely they've got to start starting him.
Yeah. I mean, Fafita, he's an impactful player, but he's not an impact player, if that makes sense. So, but Viliami Kiko is an impact player. He doesn't do like huge numbers statistically, generally speaking, but he'll have those huge impacts in the game. And I think that's where Fafita's got to get to. Like, don't have him taking the tap runs, which I've seen them do sometimes. I'm like, why are you wasting David Fafita to just go off the 9, tap it? And I remember a couple of years ago, he got a few of those tries where he's basically tapped the ball and charged it over himself. But look, forget what he's been paid. David Fafita's potential, he should be given more output in that Titans team, in my opinion.
Yeah. Cowboys have won 3 in a row. Do they keep it going?
Yeah, they'll definitely keep it going, mate. Yeah.
All right. The late Saturday game, then Panthers against the Sea Eagles. The big one, Jimmy. Tommy Trbojevic is back.
He is, and I cannot split these two. I think this is a horrible, horrible game to pick. Horrible game to pick.
I think it's easy as anything.
Do you?
Yeah. I think Penrith Panthers win. comfortably. Manly
based off one win against the Roosters.
No, I think Penrith have come good, and I think they're already playing with that desperation now. They know that they've got to keep winning games. And I don't know, Manly, I think whoever spoke about it midweek, it might have been Buzz, how like DCE, you can just tell that that's not a nice situation anymore.
It seems to have clearly affected this team. I just don't know. I'm too scared to put a line through Manly because I know they can, and with Tommy coming back, I know they can play. And I'm not sold on the Panthers just yet.
Mitch Kenny's a big loss as well for them.
Big loss. It's funny. I was talking to someone about the loss of Luai at the Panthers and how he kept everybody accountable there. He was the one that would be on people for making mistakes, and how he drove standards at the Panthers. Not necessarily Nathan or Isaiah. They were a bit of a softer approach, but Jerome was the one that would be driving the standards. And maybe that's the reason. Like, obviously there's a multitude of reasons. They're not playing at Penrith Park anymore. But I'm really struggling to go with the team. I think you're probably right, Panthers, but just. And I've got very little confidence in saying that.
You know what the Panthers fans need to do? They need to take a page out of the Doggies book and actually show up. Like it's pretty poor form when your team's won 4 comps in a row. And then last time we said is they had a whinge about how hard the train is. It's not that hard. The train's not that hard.
No.
You can get the train from Penrith to Parramatta, even if it's a 40-minute journey while you wait for the train and all that sort of stuff. Get there and support your team. They've won 4 comps in a row. Surely they deserve that support.
They do. And it's not like you're watching tripe. You're watching one of the best teams that have ever existed.
Yeah. Come on.
The Panthers have actual chartered buses from Panthers League to combat.
There you go. Panthers have chartered buses from Panthers League clubs to combat. You got no excuse.
No,
your team
absolutely
needs
no
you as well.
excuse.
Like, I feel like Penrith need them. They used to play in front of a fired up crowd. They've been through all these like highs, 4 comps in a row. Do you know what you need then? You need that extra like intensity because it probably makes them rise to another level.
Absolutely. And I've got Panthers slightly.
Last couple of games on Sunday after a long weekend, off the back of another long weekend. First up, Jimmy, Raiders v the Dolphins. Both teams flying now.
I'm going to enjoy this contest. Like, Raiders have surprised everybody. They've got to build something at home that they really do. But then I really like what the Dolphins have brought to this competition. The battle in the middle is going to be outstanding. Frankie Molo makes his debut for the Dolphins. And again, I'm just leaning ever so slightly towards the Dolphins. I think they could spring an upset in the nation's capital.
Even in the nation's capital, wow. That's a big call. That's a huge call. You know what I found out the other day? Someone sent it to me. I didn't realize. But when we spoke about the Raiders in the start of the preseason, a Raiders fan podcast did an episode about us and what we said. And the title is like Charlie White Bias is the title of their episode or something like that. We got bagged. But
you know what?
They were right.
Fair.
We were wrong.
And it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I have no issue whatsoever with, like, I don't profess to be like a crystal ball.
No.
Like I make informed opinions.
Yeah. And as Cheese says, even when he's wrong, he's right. James Graham.
No, I'm not. I'm okay. I was wrong about the Raiders.
Yeah.
And I'll be wrong about other teams. Maybe I'll be wrong about picking the Dolphins.
Okay. Last game then, Jimmy. Tigers against the Sharks. We said a Lockie Galvin free zone. It is until right now. He's back.
Oh, my goodness me. All eyes on Lockie Galvin. Like our Oval is going to be transformed.
It's going to be rocking.
It's going to be rocking. It's going to be transformed in years to come. The reception that Galvin gets, his ability to perform with his teammates, have those issues being resolved. 4:00 Sunday, there's only one place to be, and it's like our Oval. And if you're not, you're watching it on the screens. Like, it's going to be incredible viewing.
Luke Laulili, the player that drops out of the team, because obviously Dewey moves to centres and Nathan's going to go move to the wing.
Yeah, look, bit of a backline reshuffle. I just wonder how the Tigers are mentally from that and emotionally from a taxing Easter Monday game. It's been an emotional couple of weeks. It was an emotional roller coaster in that game. They were in, they were out, they were in, they were out. They probably botched it in the end. I'm genuinely, the Galvin subplot, it's going to be on. I think the Sharks get the winner.
Yeah.
I think this is a difficult period to manage for the Tigers, and I just think the Sharks should have enough to get a victory. Their middle third's performing very well. The battle between Fanua Blake, May, Bole, who's been magnificent, Oregon Kafusi, it's going to be all on, but I think the Sharks just have enough.
You know, the team at Ladbrokes think that Galvin is going to play a huge influence, though, because they went from $3.20 outsiders. Galvin named, shortened right into $2.80.
Really?
Yeah. So they think he's going to play a big part. But I'm with you, Jimmy.
Well, he will.
Yeah.
He will when it's a better halves combination than Dewey and Levi.
We'll see where they're at, though.
Yeah.
Like, this game will show where they're at. I think it could be a carve up.
Can I be honest?
Also, the Tigers do they perform that well at Leichhardt? It feels like they've maybe struggled there at times over the last few years. I mean, they've been struggling everywhere, in all honesty.
Yeah, I'm actually really nervous about the outpouring of emotion, like everything that's going to go on this game. I'm gonna watch it. Oh, it's almost like a scary movie. It unfolding in front of your eyes.
You know what though? You know we talked about will DCE be booed? Surely Galvin's $1.15 to be booed.
Oh, some of the comments online have been some have gone way too far and disgracefully should be called out.
Yeah.
Like that's bullshit. Some of the things that have been said about him.
Yeah.
But there is feeling there, and there is a sentiment that he's against this football club. I can't see how he won't be.
There's probably going to be anti-Galvin signs as well.
yeah.
I mean, it's going to be probably pretty intense, but it's going to be like he's only 19.
I know.
That's still unbelievable. You know?
It is.
Unbelievable.
It is crazy. But yeah, the Sharks for me.
Just before we go, Jimmy, didn't speak about it when the Manly stuff was happening, but Manly have now offered Fogarty a 3-year deal. So Canberra Raiders could have botched this massively.
Yeah, that's it's too good a deal to turn down for Foggy. Really is.
Yeah.
I can't see him staying at the Raiders.
All right, well, that's us done then.
Yeah, brilliant episode, Charlie. We will catch you all next week.